Hello and welcome back to NJCDC's The Loft. Today I am sitting down here with David Gelman, the Chief Program Officer here at NJCDC.
Great. Thank you, Danny. Congratulations on this fantastic podcast studio.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you. As long as I've been here, you've kind of been around running the show, putting out fires when need be and, making sure all the ducks are in order. Can you please talk about your journey here with NJCDC? What kind of led you to become the Chief Program Officer?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right in that I've been around. 2006, I had graduated college and was doing a couple little things here and there trying to make money. And I answered an ad in the newspaper for AmeriCorps. At the time, that was how I looked for jobs.
Okay.
I answered an ad for AmeriCorps. I had always liked working with kids, but it was always kind of in a summer camp experience. That brought me to Paterson. I knew very little about Paterson other than what I heard on the news. Unfortunately, was mostly negative at the time.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity to commit to a year of service working with young people, and I signed up, and that was it. I worked an AmeriCorps role at School 2 at the time, our family-friendly program. Joined NJCDC a year later with the Garrett Morgan Academy as a program director.
Nice. Just
by being exposed, I connected with the staff there. There was a job opening. I jumped on it, and kind of the rest is history as I moved through the organization.
Great. And I went to Garrett Morgan Academy too, which eventually they moved out of 32 Spruce and into International High School. And that's when I kind of joined. So that's fantastic though. And through the AmeriCorps program too, we also had Gabrielle Fushi. She came in, we interviewed her to talk about AmeriCorps. So that's fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah. It's a wonderful network across the country.
Yeah, of course. So you kind of, like I said, you're kind of leading the helm on a bunch of different programs at NJCDC. So I want to ask, how do you ensure that each program meets the needs of the youth in those programs?
That's a good question. As much management as someone can do when they're managing a lot of programs, I think it's all about the people. It's all about surrounding yourself with people that are committed to the work, that understand the need for it. Our founder and with his vision, Bob Garashi, says, I never want to kind of turn away knowing I could have done more. I never want to end my day knowing I could have done more. So it's all about the people. It's my job to ensure someone running a program down the street from us or at Clifton High School or up the street at International High School kind of understand what needs to be done to serve the student, the young person, but their family as well, kind of a full service mentality. So I think it's my job to make sure people understand what they need to do and rely on those people.
Of course. What are some key challenges that you face when you're trying to whether it be figuring out who's fits best at some certain place or just general, trying to put out fires or whatnot?
It's a good question. I think a challenge is always at hours in the day. Like I said before, you want to ensure you're doing everything you can, but when you say put out fires, sometimes you need to dedicate more time to one thing or another, depending on the need. I think NJCDC and especially youth programming and a consistent challenge is awareness of to the extent of what we can offer families and making sure they're aware of the benefits and our other programs as well. If we're serving a family for one program, well, hey, family, are you aware that not only can we provide food boxes to you on a monthly basis, but your child is going to be in pre-K next year and your nephew goes to a high school where we have two programs that can really support them with college readiness, et cetera. And awareness and getting through to families, whether it's comprehension issues, cultural issues, language barriers, just we are here for you. We offer 99% of our programs at no cost, probably 100% of our programs at no cost. And these are resources for you. And this is how we can help you in navigating those obstacles to get through to the families, to show them we're here for you once, 10 times, 100 times, but we can guide you through kind of whatever you need or refer you to experts that can support whatever your needs are.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of the impact over the years. I've seen a lot of the impact of these other programs, not even just we're going to talk about Paterson Youth Council soon, right? But I've seen kind of the impact on some of these families from these other programs. Is there a story or impact of a particular family that you had in mind when telling me about this right now?
That's a good question. I'd say seeing a family where they benefit. I'd say multiple families who benefit from multiple programs, both for the children and the adults. A child who goes to our Paterson Family Center preschool, and their older sibling is in our Saturday arts program,
Yes.
and an adult in their family benefited from a financial literacy or a housing workshop through our neighborhood help
Yeah.
center. And then following the pipeline, we always say pipeline, cradle to career, cradle to college,
Yeah.
things like that. I think that's true, and that's a roadmap for success for our families who will say, well, I learned about it because my child goes to the preschool, so now I'm coming to a food drive around the holidays. So kind of the more support we can provide them, academic, food insecurity, financial health, mental
Yeah.
health, seeing a family get multiple services to me is a success story.
Okay. And how do you, as in your position, right? Because you are managing all these different programs, how do you yourself evaluate the impact that these programs are having? Is it just like so what do you see that's like, okay, this program is really like
Mhm.
doing well?
Mhm. That's a great question. We're such a family and people oriented organization, I think. But on the other side of it, on program management, data is so important. Um, Tracking people who are coming through our programs and tracking the success. And how do you do that? I think it's y- pre and post surveys aren't the most exciting thing to
Yeah.
talk about always, but I think
Yeah.
it's so beneficial for a high school program, for example, to ask a student in September, how confident are you that you know what you need to do junior year to apply to college? How confident are you that you have skills and you can promote these skills into a job when you're 19 and a career when you're 24? Ask, getting all that information and then asking it again at the end of the year after
Yeah.
participating in our programs. On the mental health side, how confident are you? You know how to seek help. You know what resources are available to you. And when you see that increase specifically, well, now I know what to do junior year to apply to college.
Yeah.
Seeing that improvement over the year shows us the impact our program has, kind of in black and white, that it's a student telling us through feedback, I didn't know how to do this, or I wasn't confident. I joined NJCDC program. Now I can do, and these are action steps that's going to make me successful, college,
Yeah.
career, and beyond.
Fantastic. So another topic I really wanted to dive deep on was the Paterson Youth Council, right? And when I was in Paterson, I've been through the Paterson Youth Council, and you've kind of been at the helm of the program, kind of like managing everything. And I would consider you like the director of the Paterson Youth Council. I know you have your hands in all the different pots,
Mhm.
but I feel like the Paterson Youth Council is probably where I would see you picture you the most, you know? So for those who don't know about the Paterson Youth Council, can you please speak on what the Paterson Youth Council is?
Yeah, absolutely. The Paterson Youth Council is a wonderful vision, and I think this came from Bob Garashi as well. A simple but powerful vision in that let's get students involved in their community and let's utilize our resources to empower their voices. We have so many students that are interested in so many opportunities. Let's give them an avenue to do so. So I think the vision was kind of a student council, but for the city, a civic student council where students can utilize their voice and issues on what matter to them and give them the platform, have them at city council meetings, have them host board of education candidates, send them to Washington, D.C. and meet with legislators. Eventually it turned into successful college tours, but have them tell you what initiatives they want to do. Let's
Yeah.
have a president and a vice president. I think you were an elected officer.
Yeah, I
one year,
was.
right?
I was vice president
Mhm.
for my sophomore
Mhm.
year or my freshman year. It was
Mhm.
my freshman
Mhm.
year of high school, and I was in Paterson Youth Council.
Mhm.
It was definitely a changing experience. I will say it really broke me out of my shell because I was a really quiet kid growing up, and especially my freshman year of high school. And for some reason, the upperclassmen kind of took a liking to me,
Mhm.
and they would do weird things. Like I would walk into a room and they would just clap for no reason. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
what is going on right now? And they were like, Danny, you should run for vice president, right? And being the quiet kid, I'm just like, all right, I'll take it. But also being the quiet kid, I had no idea what I was signing myself up for, which was like, public speaking, a lot of public speaking, especially in front of a large crowd with very important people in the room, right? So I definitely had to like break out of my barriers, in order to survive. Like I
Mhm.
was so scared. Like I remember there are one of the events that Paris Youth Council hosts are the Martin Luther King
Yep.
Awards, and I had to give a speech as vice president, and I was very nervous, and I wasn't I don't know. I remember that specific experience when I think about PYC and I think about my time as vice president or just starting high school and kind of where I started to transform in during my journey. That's kind of something that a moment I think on a lot, because of just how out of my comfort I was, you know? So I think Paterson Youth Council or NJCDC is definitely like kind of, that was one of the many stories that I have where where NJCDC impacted me specifically. So
I
yeah,
love to hear that because when we interview young people, we continuously say we're going to push you out of your country's comfort zone, try new experiences. But I think it's hard for young people to understand that until we actually do it. And when we say, all right, next month you are hosting everyone that's running for mayor, as staff, we're not running it. You're running the event. You're
yeah,
formulating the questions. You're asking the questions. And these candidates show up and engage with them. And often we hear it's a really valuable experience for them too. And whether young people realize it or not, we're prepping you for all different, you might not want to be in this field, but we're preparing you to sell what you want to sell in your career, or promote your major, or deliver your
yeah,
thesis in college. It's just such good experience when when you're 15, 16 years old, to be on that platform and develop your leadership
yeah,
skills, I
for
think.
sure, 100%, and that's definitely what it's done for me. So there you go. Um, so there are 30 students in this program,
Correct.
right? How do you evaluate what's the criteria you use when selecting these students?
Great question. And selecting students is difficult because anyone that's enthusiastic about joining a program that where they're dedicating a lot of time, evening, weekends, it's always hard to make that selection. But the criteria, there's an application process, an interview, a rubric, a selection process. The criteria that we look for, I think, bottom line, obviously academic success is nice, extracurriculars activities is nice. The most important thing, I think, is commitment. I want to do something positive for Paterson, and that's what we want to come out in the application and in the interview sessions as well. You hear so many things about different distractions, opportunities for young people. We want to see, I'm a young person, I want to do something positive with my time. I want to do community service because it's my community. I want to beautify the neighborhood. I want to work with young people. I want to connect with civic leaders and tell them what's important to me, and see if I can really make a change and use my voice and make my presence known.
Yeah,
That's I think the bottom line, what we look for. And if we see that potential in folks that aren't accepted because they're younger, so they try again next year, or we have a volume of applicants, we say, well, stay engaged though. The Paterson Youth Council, 80% of what we do, we're going to invite you to community
yeah,
service. It's exclusive when it comes to trips or incentives or things like that, but we're going to invite you and we want you to apply again
yeah,
next
for
year.
sure. There's always plenty of opportunities around
Absolutely.
NJCDC. So, um, you mentioned Paterson Youth Council earlier, engaging with mayoral candidates, right? And it's, election season is upon us. And so I'm curious on what issues specifically have you seen the Paterson Youth Council recently bring to light during these kinds of events that they host?
Great question. And we're actually doing what I think is a wonderful initiative, doing some hands-on activities throughout October. We just had one last week. We have one this week that by iCivics, it's a curriculum that says, what is the road to the White House? What is an electoral college? What is campaigning like? What does a campaign actually mean in Paterson versus the White House? So it's these kind of hands-on activities to get our youth council members thinking of the election process, whether it's locally or nationally,
Mhm.
but obviously ever more important with the potential historic presidential election upon us. All that to prepare for an October 28th mock presidential debate, where some of our candidates will represent Harris and some will represent Trump,
Okay.
and really present the issues as they see it. I've heard a wide range of what's important to them, and I love kind of just sitting back and letting them debate. And I think
Yeah.
debate is good, even if it can get contentious, as long as it's respectful.
Yeah, for sure.
A wide range, crime, voting rights for young people, board of education, global issues, obviously, Israel and Palestine situation,
Yeah.
and you have to let them kind of talk through that versus what they think versus what they think a candidate should be presenting
Yeah.
when it comes to that, reproductive rights,
Hmm.
financial things, safety throughout the country.
Yeah.
So we kind of, that's a platform, these meetings before the debate, is to let them share what they think, listen to each other, share what they think a candidate should present and approach an important issue like that.
That's fantastic. And they're really hitting all of these
They
these
are.
important
Mhm.
topics here. That's fantastic
They are.
though.
I think that that generation, they're in tune with just as much as anybody is. And I think
Yeah.
just the state, you know, this with how social media is and how accessible news is,
Yeah.
that it's really impressive. A, how much they know about all these different topics, and B, how passionate they are and how
Yeah.
educated they are.
That's fantastic
Hmm.
though. That's great to see. Something that's newer with Paterson Youth Council and definitely wasn't around during my time at PYC is the financial literacy initiative, right? So can you explain to us and explain to me what that initiative is and kind of what the Paterson Youth Council is doing with this?
Absolutely. It's a wonderful initiative. Financial literacy, I think it has been huge the last 5, 10, 15 years. And NJCDC has such a comprehensive network with financial institutions, banks, credit unions. We have so many supportive partners. We said, let's engage them with our young people. So what this partnership came from a curriculum that could be delivered to our youth council students from local bank partners, financial professionals to come in and talk about everything from budgeting to credit to mortgages to identity theft, everything that they work with. So really two purposes on that. One, I think it's to expose them to careers, which I think is so valuable, and let them know. You think of people that work in banks or financial institutions, they're not just bank tellers. There's such a wide range of security,
Hmm.
marketing, legal positions here.
Yeah.
These are your options here. And then two, to take that information and kind of a train the trainer model or a teach the teacher model, where the students, we had a financial literacy day this past April in partnership with JFK High School, well over 100 students, where our youth council taught those curriculum initiatives to other high school students, with the benefit that everyone was invited to open a line of credit, and the bank partners generously put money into those
Hmm.
lines, so that the students could open a line of credit and have a better understanding of
Oh
their
wow,
own financial kind of independence.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So it was a wonderful initiative where the students learn, I can teach about identity theft or credit
Yeah.
or monthly budgeting, pass this on to my peers so that they're educated about it and get a start on opening a bank account.
And what an impact, right, to these students. And
Mhm.
I mean, I spoke about my impact earlier in this episode, but is there any stories with Paterson Youth Council specifically where you've seen an impact on a student or a family from that benefited from the Paterson Youth Council program?
Absolutely. I think I would point to our Ivy League tour. Going back to Bob Garashi and a vision probably at 2016, our first one was 2017. He said, we visit local colleges, which are great, but let's utilize our resources and take these students on an Ivy League tour, which we started in 2017. And over the years, paused for the pandemic, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but reinvigorated that in 2022. We visited Harvard, MIT, Brown, and Yale, some combination of the others. And I think it's a wonderful vision because, I mean, first off, the top results is that we've had a higher influx of students attend Ivy League colleges, which is
Wow. That's
fantastic.
fantastic.
But I think the broader effect is that it empowers students to know what options they have.
Yeah.
We know that realistically, students, we're not going to get 20, 30 students a year going to Stanford,
Yeah.
going to UPenn. We're going to get some, but every student on that trip traveled outside of Paterson, out of state to a different city, and saw I have options, and saw
Yeah.
at colleges across the country, there's students like me that look like me, that come from cultures like me, that are first generation or their parents are first generation. So we love that the result of that is a student said, I visited Boston, and now instead of not being sure about college, I'm going to Montclair, I'm going to
Yeah.
Rutgers.
There you go.
I have options, and this trip kind of opened my eyes to that. So I think it's kind of twofold. It's that students are expanding the breadth of universities they're applying to, and just knowing their options. I think that type of programming and curriculum also speaks to how important college readiness is versus
Yeah.
college acceptance. I think 10, 20 years ago, across the country, people were touting college acceptance rates. But I think what NJCDC is so good at is college readiness, meaning we can
Yeah.
get you into college, but we're going to start with the skills freshman year to make you succeed in college and make
Yeah.
sure you finish in 4 or 5 years and know your options for after that. And I think it's just a worldly experience that gives students a new perspective on how to brand themselves and promote their skills and be successful.
Yeah, of course. And I think with these past interviews I've been conducting, I've talked to Alana Cooper Russ at Full Service. I've talked to Christina Tone about her programs that she
Yep.
has. Um, and I think the story that's kind of being woven here is speaking to what you said, where it's cradle to college, pipeline, where you have like a student come in either for like to learn about how to do their FAFSA, how to do their financial aid, either from like I learned from the NEC, like Christina Tone, she helped me out so much when I
Mhm.
was starting. And then like I've been on these Ivy League tours too, and it's definitely a really eye-opening experience. And the where I ended up going to Montclair State. But the reason why went up going to Montclair State was because NJCDC was partnering. I don't know if they still do this, with Montclair State University for a journalism program.
Yep.
And it was like the summer my senior year, before my senior year of high school, and I still wasn't sure about college. I wasn't sure what exactly I was going to go for. There's still a few question marks in my head. And then I went on that trip with a couple of my friends, and I saw their communications building, and we went to New York City and went to a few like MSNBC. We went to a few other places,
Yep.
and I saw their radio station at Montclair, and I kind of like fell in love with the place, and I was like, and coincidentally, that radio station they have in Montclair, I listened to when I was in middle school, like in 8th grade. So I'm like, yo, everything is just aligning perfectly, which is kind of crazy. And so because of that, it kind of opened my eyes to what specifically I wanted out of which amounted to like the rest of my life, and now I'm here today, right?
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's because you saw it in person, and you said,
Exactly.
this is a world for me
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I could succeed in.
100%.
Here I am, and I'm going to do it. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So, but and I want to say again, just like thank you so much for like being around, being supportive. I know you specifically. Again, you have your hands in a lot of different pots. But Paterson Youth Council was a really big experience for me and a whole bunch of other students. So thank you just so much for your service.
Absolutely. It continues to grow and go in different directions in a good way, I think. And what's really powerful is for our young people to see alumni. We had that alumni reunion in August that you and some of your friends from your year were at. I think that's so powerful to be 16 and say, well, this person's 23. They did the exact same thing I did. Here's where they are now.
Yeah.
They're still figuring it out. They're doing this, they're doing that.
Mhm.
But here's what I can strive for. I think that's so powerful.
100%. So say if I'm a student, either like, no matter what high school range, and I want to get involved with Paterson Youth Council, how would I go about finding more information or signing up?
Go to NJCDC's website, and you'll find the Paterson Council on there.
And that's njcdc.org,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Yep. And you'll find Paterson Youth Council on there, and it'll lead you to our staff to make sure we have your information. A, for the upcoming year for an official application, but B, starting right now to participate in our service activities.
Yeah, of course.
Get to know them.
And when do applications usually open for the new year?
We'll be putting them out in the spring.
Okay. And that would be for
25, 26.
Okay, great.
Yeah. But if anyone's interested, I encourage them to contact me directly or go to our website and start participating in service and get to know our current members right away.
Okay.
Because we have a busy year as always.
Yeah,
so
of course.
We always encourage people to come out.
It's always busy at NJCDC, no matter what program, so that's fantastic. That's great. Well, thank you very much, Dave, for coming on today. It was very great conversation. Hopefully we'll get the Paterson Youth Council more involved with the podcast. So
that sounds great.
Yeah, that's
Danny,
the next step.
My pleasure.
Of course. Thank you.